Hello, Serious Survivor here. Today I want to talk about, we've all seen through the last week and through the last several days the couple of British tankers that were taken by the Iranians, and another vessel was also suspected to be taken by the Iranians. We've heard about how the U.S. naval ship had to defend itself against an Iranian drone, or at least that's what the reports state. But this is progressing really, really fast, and this is very well going to turn into a conflict. Hopefully, we can find a political and amicable solution that would help everyone, but I don't see that happening. And the main reason for that are the continued aggressions by the Iranian government. Now, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and we don't know all the details. All we know are the news reports that we hear, the television shows, news that we watch. And a lot of this media over the past several years have proven itself to be quite unreliable in some aspects. But when we do read the majority of the reports and do watch the majority of the interviews and such, then we can piece together a picture that even if we don't know the details, this is something that's going to more than dramatically affect us. This is something that will possibly change the world forever. And if we're not ready to at least protect ourselves and take care of ourselves, if and when a war does truly break out, then it's going to be a difficult situation. And this could lead to a lot of problems internally in the U.S. If the U.S. does strike Iran, or any of our allies strike Iran, that's not going to end this conflict, and I think everyone sees this at this point in time. The Iranian government does have a lot of allies, and those being Russia primarily, followed by China and other countries, even North Korea. And if we do combine those countries together, then that is quite a force for the United States and its allies to take on. Now, when a strike does occur, because I do believe one is coming, when some type of retaliation does happen, then it's going to be retaliated back by Iran on one of the neighboring nations or the sea vessels that travel through the straits there. And that would very well lead to all-out war in turn. And this war will probably start with just Iran, but it won't take long for other nations to get on board. And this could turn into something that could spread and could possibly become a global war. We have to think about the effects of war on the home front here. We're already faced with an upcoming food shortage, with food prices skyrocketing. I know I've seen them double in the last year where I live at. So in some areas of the country, I'm sure they've risen even more. We see the civil instability. We see people against people, groups against groups. And when the country or the nation here goes to war and all of our troops, or the majority of our troops, are sent overseas to fight a war, then that leaves us almost vulnerable at home, to say. We have to think about a lot of things. We have to really take a lot of things into consideration if we do go to war with a nation like Iran and Iran's allies. And one of those things that we really have to think about, when all of our troops are gone, or the majority, they won't all go, but the majority of our troops are gone to war, and maybe a draft is even reinstated, then this is going to leave our nation weaker on the home front, because all of our young men and women will be off fighting a war in a foreign land. That leaves people here, for the most part, the very young people, middle-aged people, and older people. And this is going to take the youth of our nation, and it's going to put them on a battlefield somewhere that, I hope they never have to see. But if this does escalate, then we're going to be left at home to basically defend ourselves, and that's something we have to truly be ready for. A lot of people are not ready for a war on our home front, and it would also be the perfect time for a nuclear strike. With the military running a skeleton crew on home soil, we would be able to stop some of the missiles that come in. We would be able to retaliate, but there's no way we're going to be able to stop them all, because a lot of our weapons will be overseas. A lot of our anti-air and missile defense systems will be overseas when a war is being fought. But the main thing that us preppers and people who, do not want to just stand down, people who want to defend our nation, is that this is the time we need to be ready, because it will be up to people like us to keep our communities safe, to keep the people that we love safe. Because when our military goes overseas, then that's going to put a tremendous workload on the police trying to stop civil instability. As we've seen through the other wars in the past, there's always protest. There's always people saying it's wrong, people saying it's right. And I'm not taking either side. I'm just saying there are always two sides to every event. But imagine how easier it would be for some of these groups that do stand against the government right now and do stand against the nation, basically, is the way it looks. How easy is it going to be for them to wreak even more havoc when the nation is already in turmoil from a war overseas? We all hope we never see another war. It would be really good, but I can see the drums beating. I can see the troops lining up right now. And this is turning into something that's going to be very serious. We can't overlook this. Although there's nothing we can do about it except prepare ourselves. It will be up to us as preppers, as leaders of our groups, as friends, as family, to take care of those around us. It is just a matter of time. So please be prepared. And the most important things we can do is to make sure that we know the people that live near us, and whether you like them or not, know them. And know if you could trust them at least a little bit, at least enough to stand with you if necessary. Your self-defense skills will probably be top priority. Make sure you're stockpiled with weapons and ammo to defend your home if things do go bad here on the home front. Followed by your food. Make sure you have enough food that you can feed your family for 6 months, at least to a year. And that type of food you're going to want to make, keep stored away until you absolutely have to have it. Just use it when the food shortage does occur and you can't get food anymore at the local grocery. Water, I don't see water as being a problem in a lot of areas unless the grid were to go down. But keep some water purification methods on hand to be able to purify water if the need does arise. Health and medical, stock up on as much health and medical supplies as you can. And the reason for this is because medical supplies can only be produced at a certain rate. And when our country's at war, then our military, our troops, are going to be receiving the vast majority of these medical supplies. So I would expect those to also be in very high demand, becoming very expensive and extremely hard to find. The most important preparation you can make right now for a type of war event, especially for somebody my age, I'm in my late 40s, and that's to prepare for the fact that your sons and daughters will be overseas fighting a war that we didn't stop before it happened. That mental aspect alone is going to take a toll on people. And then when you factor in civil instability, when you factor in food prices becoming so outrageous that people can't afford them, the price of metals and other materials going up through the roof, so inflation is going to be through the roof, and illegal immigration possibly increasing. But I do have to say that in the time of war, it's quite possible that borders would be closed. And also on the mental aspect, we have to be prepared to live in a nation that is at war. And the time may very well come that we all have to stand tall and we all have to stand fast and defend this nation. And that time may come on our home ground. A lot of people say the U.S. will never be invaded. The possibility does exist. It always has existed. No one's just attempted it yet. But when you power together nations like Iran, Russia, and China, who's going to stop them from attempting a military invasion? No one wants to deal with a war, and here we especially don't want to deal with one on our own home turf here. But if it does happen, then we better be ready, or as ready as we can be. So put some thought into it. That's the only way you're going to mentally prepare, is to put thought into it and to think about what your particular neighborhood's going to look like with half of the young people gone, and what your particular workforce is going to look like with half of those young people gone, and demand increasing for war, productivity having to increase. It's going to be a very difficult environment. Well, just a few thoughts there, and I guess that's it for now. Don't forget about the giveaway coming up when we hit 50,000 subscribers, and thanks a lot for watching. For now, Serious Survivor, out.